Hey, this is Mark Ellis, the trusted real estate advisor with Keller Williams Realty here in Pasadena. And as promised in my previous video, I said that I would discuss and share what it means to have an appraisal contingency and what it means to remove that appraisal contingency, because we've been seeing that for quite some time in this seller's market. So every time with every seller and with every buyer client, I have to explain what it means. And what those options look like. So let's break it down. All right, so here we go. In today's market, we will see usually three approaches when it comes to an appraisal contingency. The first will be a buyer who wants an appraisal contingency in play. And basically what that means is they make an offer and the appraisal contingency is designed to protect the buyer. In the event that the appraisal value comes in less than the amount offered, the buyer has a right to cancel the deal. Or the buyer can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the appraised value is less than what I offered, and so we're willing to close the deal at the appraised value amount. And so if you're willing to make that the sell price, then we will move forward. Otherwise, we want to cancel the deal. So this gives the buyer an opportunity to renegotiate the purchase price. Now, the other thing that we will see is when a buyer removes the appraisal contingency altogether, which means no matter what, even if they get an appraisal completed or they don't, no matter what, they're going to pay that price. They cannot cancel the deal because the appraisal did not come in at the number that the buyer offered. We will see this usually with cash buyers, and we also see this with buyers who are getting a loan, but they have enough money in the bank where they know that, hey, we expect the appraised value to come in this range, right? And we know that we're making an offer that is probably exceeding where that appraised value range is right now, but we have enough money to make up the difference, and we're willing to compete that aggressively to win the home or win the property, and that's why they remove the appraisal contingency. Now, the third thing that we will see is when you'll see a buyer really have a blend of both, is what I like to call it. They will have an appraisal contingency, but they will put in the contingency that they are willing to pay a certain amount above the appraised value if the appraised value comes in less than the amount that they offered the seller. So it does give them some degree of protection, but they're letting the seller know, hey, we will pay above appraised value. But it usually means that it's a certain amount above appraised value or the offer that we made you, whichever number is less. And that is how I usually write that up in the purchase agreement for my buyer clients, which is usually the route that I recommend for my clients, unless they really have enough money and they really feel confident that they can just remove the appraisal contingency entirely. So on the seller side of this, having an offer that does not have an appraisal contingency, especially when that offer seems to be higher than the recent sales data in the area, that's advantageous to the seller. They like that. They say, wow, this is a really good number. It's the highest number in the neighborhood yet. And if they want to guarantee that they'll get that number, they want that buyer to remove the appraisal contingency. And they want that buyer to verify that they have the funds available to commit to that purchase price, right? The next best option for the seller would be a buyer who says, hey, I want an appraisal contingency, but I am willing to pay a certain amount above that appraisal if the appraised value comes in less than the offer that I made you. So the seller looks at that and says, okay, that's the second best option for the seller to ensure that they get the number that the buyer is offering. And then, of course, the appraisal contingency that is in place, that is, again, advantageous for the buyer. The seller's waiting around for that appraisal, and they want to find out, did the appraisal come in at the number that the buyer offered me? So the least likely offer that a seller will take in this market is one where the buyer wants this appraisal contingency and has a right to cancel the deal, or has a right to, at least request that the seller reduce the price to the appraised value. So that's why you'll see prices get pushed That's how prices get pushed in neighborhoods. And then that data becomes the new sales data. But then when new homes hit the market, and if the buyers keep competing and pushing prices further, then they're going to have to remove appraisal contingencies or create some sort of a hybrid to ensure that they can give the seller that number. And that's what the seller's looking for. And this is one way we see home prices climb in these neighborhoods. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'm glad to help. It's going to be a busy spring and summer, and I'm looking to help you and your family and your friends. I'll talk to you soon.